Hey, what's up, everybody? For this version of Three Takeaways, I'm taking a break from a family vacation up here in Wisconsin Dells. Talk a little bit about fishing breakwaters there on Lake of the Ozarks. Right now, we're on a little family vacay. Celebrating my oldest college graduation from Missouri State last week. So proud of him. 4 years at Missouri State University, graduated with a degree in music and a minor in disability studies. Sam's an amazing young man. We're very, very proud of him. And so we're celebrating his graduation and my retirement up here in Wisconsin Dells. And we finally got some snow. We had to drive 8 hours north of Missouri to get into some snow finally, but we got some and it is wonderful. Anyway, took my youngest to Lambo Field yesterday. We drove 2 hours up to Green Bay. He's a big Packers fan. I represented Chiefs Kingdom. Go Chiefs. There at Lambeau. They didn't ostracize me too bad, but we've had a great time so far. But anyway, back to fishing. So 3 takeaways. Fished that Bass and Bob Derby on Lake of the Ozarks last weekend. Had a small limit, but certainly kind of missed the mark on the key pattern. A few things I do want to share with you all here is 3 things when fishing those breakwaters, especially with the jerk baits. Number 1, you can get away with heavier line. And with that, I mean 12-pound fluorocarbon is what I was using. And the reason for that is there's a lot of rebar and chains and debris around those breakwaters in the gaps and stuff that are going to get your line if you're not careful. That big spot I caught in practice, she seesawed me back and forth on one of the chains that anchor those breakwaters a couple times. Luckily, she didn't break me off, but I feel a little bit better with 12-pound fluorocarbon on my jerk baits when fishing those as opposed to 10. Now, you can probably get by with that, but I don't know that extra 2 pounds of weight hurt me as far as bites or anything. It's a good pattern. The other thing is those things are certainly better in the wind. And so when the wind's blowing in on them, you can usually find those fish kind of stacked up on the outer corners, kind of facing into the wind. And you pretty much know when you're going to get bit. When you get that jerk bait in the sweet spot, you got a pretty good idea when they're going to bite. So that's kind of adds to the fun of it as well. But in that heavier wind, it makes it a lot easier to have a heavier jerk bait to cast with. Now, the mega bass jerk baits, they're the number 1 by far in Lake of the Ozarks and probably a lot of lakes around the country, and they're phenomenal. I've got several, and they're not cheap, but they're great jerk baits, but they're a little bit on the light side. What I found was casting into that wind, the little heavier jerk baits, like the Sixth Sense, those seem to work a little bit better in terms of casting accuracy. Because not only do you have to cast accurately with the jerk bait, you got to be mindful of where your line goes as well, because the wind's going to blow the line and get a bow in your line, and that's going to either catch on the breakwater or the rebar or something like that. So you've got to be mindful of not only where your jerk bait goes, but where your line is bowing as well. And so sometimes you really got to snap that jerk bait and throw it hard. It's like trying to throw a wiffle ball on a hurricane at times. You don't know when it's going to catch on the wind and when it's going to sail on you, or when it's going to curve, or when it's going to go straight through the power through the wind. So what I did find was 12-pound fluorocarbon line and the heavier Sixth Sense jerk baits seemed to make it easier for me to cast accurately as opposed to the lighter Mega Bass Vision 110 jerk baits. Do what you want there, but something a little heavier makes it easier to cast and easier to control where that line goes. And the third big takeaway is, and this is probably the most important one, is when I found some of those fish in practice, it was bright, sunny, bluebird day with some wind, perfect conditions to position those fish under the breakwaters in the shade where they could ambush prey. When the tournament started, it was cloudy, it was raining all most of the day, and it was just completely different conditions, and I didn't do as good at that time. And I think part of the reason is those fish just were not positioned as well in those cloudy conditions as they were when it was bright and sunny. They just weren't positioned as tight in the shade where it was easier to target them. So those 3 things together, 12-pound line, heavier jerk baits, and sunny conditions, I think will make fishing those breakwaters a little bit more productive for you. And there's some good fish in there. I didn't catch them on every one, but I had 2 or 3 good keepers in practice. Caught 2 of my keepers during the tournament day when it was cloudy, and I think I'd have done a lot better if the sun had been out on that as well. But hey, try those 3 tips. If that'll help you fish in those breakwaters, they're a lot of fun. And when you catch a big old 3.5, 4-pound spot on those things, you'll really know why they're so much fun to fish. So hey, we're fixing to do a little skiing now. Get back to enjoying this beautiful winter weather. Hope you're all doing great, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for watching, everybody.